Oh, okay. There was one question that Amanda also asked, which I'll quickly address too. Um, and this question is to do with Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati Pad. So I just want to bring this up as well. This will be a very interesting one, which will interest others who will see this video as well. So a lot of people are confused about who is Prabodhananda Saraswati Pad. There are many different opinions of him. So I'll give my understanding of him. So the question was, um, you mentioned that Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur is connected to the Radhavallabh Sampraday. This was new for me, and in order to understand, I researched a little bit and found the following, and then you refer to Sri Jagadananda Das's articles on Prabodhananda Saraswati Pad, particularly the Prabodhananda Saraswati from Banaras to Braj. And then you said, but still I am unable to understand the explanation why they consider it to be the same Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur as the one who is well known in the Gaudiya Sampradaya. And secondly, how is this related then to Radha Rasudhanidhi, as Gaudiya Vaishnavas consider Prabodhananda Saraswati to be the author of that text, while others consider Sri Hit Harivansh Mahaprabhuji to be the author? So this is a very detailed question. And also, Kalyani Didi, at some point, if you feel also you want to add something, because I think you also. Oh, no? Okay.
Oh, I am clear with this. Like, I can say, of course, there is some misconception or misunderstanding, or perhaps it might be uh, not cleared out to many people about Prabodhanand Saraswati Pad as well. But what I have learned so far is my understanding is he was the same person. And of course, like nowadays also, if we compare like nowadays as well, we mingle with different devotees and different
Yeah.
sects also. One person is not limited to only, because everybody wants to learn more. And if there's prem preeti sambandh with between people, they like to share their thoughts, like what we are doing here as well. Similarly, in that time frame as well, I think Prabodhanand Saraswati, of course, has he learned a lot of things from his previous lifetime, like I
Yes.
mean, the early stages of life.
Mm.
But when he came to Vrindavan, and there might be a possibility that he met with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and
Yeah.
Gauriya Samprada, and there is a possibility. But then when he came into the Nikunjwati Vrindavan, which we call the current Vrindavan now, which is Harivansh Mahaprabhu's Vrindavan,
Mm.
and after meeting with him, then of course it he had a lot of respect for Harivansh Mahaprabhu as a guru as well.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, in that time, my understanding is that we didn't have the printers and like printing out copies in in
Yeah.
technical way. So a lot of things were handwritten, and people used to write things and memorize it. Not only memorizing, it's also an expression to show to please their guru
Mm.
by doing the copies, handwritten copies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So there is a possibility that Prabodhanand Saraswati Pad might have written some copies which was originally from Harivansh Mahaprabhu. And similarly, like some copies were written by other saints or Vaishnavas or Bhaktas as well. So those copies were spread out. And because it's completely Ras, you know,
Mm.
people sometimes like to put, like if I'm writing something in my notebook, if I have got a certain respect for my guru, I would write my guru's name on top of my copy, my notebook, okay.
Mm.
But then I will start writing whatever it
Whatever
is,
he said, yes.
you know. So same sort of things has happened. My understanding is, this is clear in my heart, in my
Mm.
mind, that Of course, I may not be able to explain it very clearly. Maybe Ravi, you can explain this better.
Yeah, yeah, no problem.
But but so many copies were made, handmade copies were there. But of course, when somebody look, I have in my this lifetime, I have personally experienced so many things with devotees and different sects as well. We are still living in this material world. I'm going to maybe say very sharply and maybe brutally honestly, like people, we are jivas and we like to get recognition,
Mm-hmm.
and these kind of things do affect, like when something is really nectarious and people like to say this is mine
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
I belong to this part,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so it is quite obvious any sect would like to claim. uh,
Sudhanidhi, yeah.
yeah,
I think
so
that is definitely a part of it as well, but that may be a reason why it's claimed. But I'll tell a little bit about first of all why a little bit about Prabodhananda Saraswati Pad, his little bit of his history, the main points, his influences, and also then briefly on the topic of who's the author and what is the evidences on both sides. So take about 10 minutes if that's okay, and then that should round it
mhm,
up. So when it comes to Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati Pad, first of all, he's one of the most controversial personalities that I know of historically because
yeah,
there's so many questions about so many parts of his life. Not every part, but so many parts of his life are debated, sometimes justifiably, sometimes not. So sometimes there's confusion on where was he before he started worshipping um, in as a Vaishnav. Some say he was Prakashananda Saraswati
Prakashananda
from Benares. Then there's also the claim that he was a Shri Vaishnav or similar to a Shri
from
Vaishnav in Ramanujara
South
Sampraday.
India.
So
Yeah.
these things are there also. Um, that one I won't touch on too much because for me the most important is what happened with his life after he became Vaishnav. Was I only care about the Vaishnav Prabodhananda, not the Advaitin or the well Vaishnav also Sri Vaishnav, but I mean the Vrindavan bhav of his. I only care about his Vrindavan mood. So for me, generally the Gaudiyas think that he was just a Gaudiya Vaishnav, and either he was an Advaitin before Mayavadi, or he was a Sri Vaishnav. That's the general mood. There are some people who recognize that he spent time with Sri Harivansh Mahaprabhuji. There are some other devotees as well, or they say that maybe they had respect for each other, or they sometimes even will say that Sri Harivansh was his junior and Prabodhananda was giving him kripa. So this is another thing they say. So and then some Radhavallabhis just think that he was a non-Vaishnav before, and then when he came to Vrindavan, then he got the kripa of Shrivansh, then he became a Nityavihari, and he was never a Gaudiya before, he was just a Radhavallabhi direct. I actually don't agree with any of those views directly. For me, it's very clear that previously he got the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first, and it's very clear from Vrindavan Mahima Amrit and also Chaitanya Chandramrit, which is the same author to me. Some people say that no, it's different author, but I don't accept that. And once Gurudev Bhagwan, he also said the same point many years ago. He said that first Prabodhananda Saraswati Pad got the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then he got the mercy of Sri Harivansh Mahaprabhu. And I don't just agree with him because it's Gurudev saying that's also one type of Shraddha, but I also see that it makes sense. I'm not just saying it because he's saying it. I want to make
Mm,
that point. It's not just Guru Nishta, but it's actually because it makes sense. You know?
sorry, just similarly, like in our lifetime also, we don't get mercy only from one guru. We might have gone through multiple gurus as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah.
Like
Same.
you have mentioned that you got mercy from Narayan Maharaj Swamiji
Yes.
as well, and now with our Guru Dev as well. So
Ah.
same with me also. So we have also received multiple, Guru's mercy.
Yeah, 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 it's true. And these then show in our expressions, the way we speak, the language, the terminology we use, you know? Otherwise, why
Mm.
would I be talking so much? Like, for example, how could I speak so much about the Gaudiya's Manjari Bhav if
Gaudiya's
I
as
didn't
well.
have that,
Yes,
you know? So this is
yes.
like, this is why I use the comparisons because it's
You
something
need
I'm
to have the
familiar with.
broader understanding, the broader love.
Yeah, 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 definitely. The broader love, especially. So it's very clear that what really happened is that he got the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first, then later he got the mercy and influence of Sri Het Harivansh Mahaprabhuji. And generally, the Radhavallabhi's idea is that he took mantra from Sri Het Harivansh Mahaprabhuji. And for me, the proof is in his works itself. So in his works, he actually mentions, such as in Vrindavan Mahimamrit, you'll see his bhav is different to the Gaudiya mood. He has some Gaudiya things in there too, but he also has things which are Nitya Vihar. So where has the Nitya Vihar mood come from in his Vrindavan Mahimamrit? This is the main question. I'll quote some of them. Some of the points I can actually mention where this is.
Another point, can I
Mhm.
add
Yeah,
into
yeah,
there?
no problem.
Uh, Generally, like his, I think Prabodhanand Saraswati Pada also wrote Harivanshashtak. So that
Yes.
is also generally when you are writing it for your guru.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Ashtaks are written for guru, somebody who considers somebody else as a guru,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
not somebody as a
Junior.
student,
Yeah, and
junior.
yeah, and in those he very much expresses those types of bhavs which are like someone who is a guru for him. So he actually expresses those types of bhavs. So some of the verses that show that he had some interest in Nitya Vihar is that in his Vrindavan Mahimamrit 12:2, so Shatak 12, verse number 2, he mentions just as separation is never possible for Sri Radha Madhav. So he says that na sambhavi viraha. So he makes the point that they can never be separated. And this is not a mood of the Gaudiyas because the Gaudiyas are very strong on them having
Vira.
physical separation. So that's one
Mm.
which already shows that, hey, what's going on here. Then there is other verses where he says similarly, he actually uses he actually uses the word Nitya Vihar for Vrindavan. In Vrindavan Mahima Amrit 6.5, he says Tattvam Nitya Vihara Mandiram. So he's using the term Nitya Vihar here for them. Again, this is not Gaudiya. And then he calls Shama Sham in Shatak 5, verse 48. He says Nitya Viharino, but they are Nitya Viharis. So he says that again. And so many other places he mentions all these different points, but they are Nitya Vihari. They are also never separating. Um, a few other things which also lead to Nitya Vihar conclusions is that if you look at the works of Rupa Goswami, he mentions very much the ras between the rival Sakhis, so Radha and Chandravali. And he even mentions in Ujjwal Neelamani that for him, for someone who doesn't relish or understand the rivalry or sees the necessity for the rivalry between the Sakhis, the Nayakas, then he doesn't consider them to be so rasic. So that's his opinion. We respect him, but we don't agree with him. So with his writings, you'll see there's so much rivalry between Chandravali and Radha. And when it comes to Prabodhananda Saraswati Pad's writings, he does not focus on that at all. He may mention Chandravali a little bit due to some Gaudiya influence, but it's not like there's no influence
Because
of that.
there's not like nothing like Chandravali in Nitya Vihar.
Exactly, yeah. She has no existence whatsoever. So even
Mm.
Jagannanda, he also picked this point out that this is closer to this is if we look at Prabodhananda Saraswati Pad, this is closer to Nitya Vihar. Then another point is that in the Upadesh Amrit of Srila Rupa Goswami Pad, he gives a hierarchy of the different places in Vraj, and he says that Vrindavan is wonderful, but more than Vrindavan is Govardhan. Govardhan is more wonderful than Vrindavan, and then more wonderful than Govardhan is Radhakund. So Radhakund is given the most important place in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, and it's supreme even more than Vrindavan. Whereas when it comes to Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati Pad, he actually prefers the Leelas and the Ras Leela that takes place in Vrindavan at the Yamuna. And he also makes another interesting point. He says that for him, the Radha that manifests in Vrindavan is superior. For him, he says that Radha manifesting in Vrindavan is the complete form, and the Radha manifesting in the rest of Vraj is less complete. I actually think I have
Yes.
the verse here. Ah, yeah, here it is. He says, this is Shataka 6, verse 41. He says, in the Puranas, the transcendental words, Shirada resides in the forest named Vrindavan, shine with great splendor. So the words Shirada resides in the forest named Vrindavan. This is from the Puran. Then he says, from this statement, we may understand that Shirada's very wonderful, complete form does not appear even in Vraj. So he makes the point that it comes in Vrindavan, but not in the rest of Vraj. So he has the different type of nishta, whereas the Gaudiya Vaishnav will see that her Paripurn Sarup, her complete form, comes in in Radhakund. Um, there were some other points I was going to mention as well, and let me see if I can remember. Uh, now I can't remember some of the other points about this topic about the differences now. Um, but the the other points now about his close relationship with Shrivansh and his family, which a lot of people are not familiar with, is that he was actually very close with Shrivansh's family as well. So much so that Shrivansh's second son, Shri Krishna Chandra Goswami, he wrote many works in Sanskrit, and he also wrote songs in Braj Bhasha, which are very Sanskritized Braj Bhasha. So we see these works as well. So in one of his works called Karnananda, so the work's called Karnananda, which means nectar for the ears. So Amrit for the ears. He says that he wrote Karnananda, and then he also wrote a commentary to explain his own work because he thought, oh, this is so complex, I better write a commentary to explain my own work as well. And so when Krishna Chandra Goswami wrote this, right at the end, he writes that I wrote Karnananda, I also wrote the commentary, but Prabodhananda Saraswati Pad helped me complete the commentary. So he actually mentions that he helped him complete it. So this is also like showing that there is such a relationship between them. And their relationship has actually been also noticed by Gaudiya Vaishnavas as well, that they had a similar mood. If you look at, there's one parampara, it's part of Gadadhar Pandit's parivar. So the parampara coming from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associate Gadadhar Pandit. The temple's actually very close to Radhavallabh Mandir. It's called Bhattaji Mandir. And this Bhattaji Mandir is also, the Thakurji there is also called Radharaman, but they're obviously different from the famous Radharaman. And it's very interesting because this temple, there was one of the six Goswamis, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. he had a disciple called Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami. And Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami had two very prominent sons. One of the sons was named Yadupati Bhatt. So Yadupati Bhatt. And he was known as Rasikotansh. That's how he used to write his. Sometimes they have a name, but they write with a pen name. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also did like this in many works, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur and so on. So what he does in this work, there's one Vani called Prem Pattanam. Prem Pattanam means the city of Prem, and in this work, he actually says that, well, first of all, he mentions Shri Radha Sudanidhi in there, or Radha Sudanidhi. This is a Gaudiya Acharya, and it was only maybe two generations after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so very early on, maybe three max. And in the work, he says that um, he says Shri Harivansh Maha Anubhav Maha Anubhav Shri Harivansh Tadoktam, but in the words of the great personality Shri Harivansh, and then he quotes two verses from Radha Sudanidhi. So this shows that at the time of his writing this Gaudiya Grantha, even the Gaudiyas had no problem saying that Sudanidhi was written by Shri Harivansh, which is going to be my next topic. But it shows that earlier on an acharya of a particular line is already saying that this is Shri Harivansh's writing, and this is one important proof. But he also groups them together. So when he talks about some of their mentalities towards bhajan, meaning that they don't like to follow too many rules and regulations, he actually quotes Prabodhananda and Shri Harivansh together. So it shows that they were aware that they were people of similar mentality and that they could be grouped together. So this is also one type of praman as well, some sort of evidence of their being together. And I just want to say one last thing about their whole connection together as well. There is one other granth called Nikunj Leela Rahasya Stava. So it's called Nikunj Leela Rahasya Stava, basically, which means the secrets or the mysteries of the Nikunj Leela. And in recent times, many Gaudiya Vaishnavas were thinking that this is Rupa Goswami's work. But there are many devotees who are doubting this point. They are saying that it just doesn't seem like it's Rupa Goswami's work. Jagannananda himself, Jagannanda Das, this Gaudiya scholar, says, I don't think it's Rupa Goswami's work. And also Advaita Das, another great translator of the Vani, he also says on his blog, he actually says on his blog, he says, I think this work might have been written by maybe Harivansh or Hari Ram. He says like this. He says, I think it was maybe written by Sri Harivansh or Sri Hariram Vyasji. But actually, the real truth is that this work was written by Prabodhananda Saraswati Pad. And we in the Radhavallabh Sampraday have known this since the beginning. And only recently the Gaudiyas were mainly thinking it was Rupa Goswami's work. But it does not appear in any of the lists of his works, which were written by Rupa Goswami's nephew, Jiva Goswami. He never mentions this work in his list. And the fact that Advaita Das and others think it may have been written by Sri Harivansh or Sri Hariram Vyasji, the disciple of Sri Harivansh, also shows that this Granth has Nitya Vihar flavors. So that's why they're doubting that this can't be Rupa Goswami's work, because it has too much Nitya Vihar flavor. So maybe it was written by them. But actually, it was written by Prabodhananda. We have some old manuscripts which prove this. And this also shows again that Prabodhananda is still speaking on Nitya Vihar as well. So these are some of the points. You have any questions on that, or any challenges? I don't. It's good, Also important to challenge sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's good. All good.
Oh, good.
I might come back to that later on, because now I will need some time
It's too much.
to yeah, because
Digest.
also I remember when I was reading Radha Sudanidhi, then I would find many passages where I thought like, because someone told me to read it,
Yeah.
and I knew that his bhav is a Nitya Vihar. He's relishing that kind of bhav,
Oh, yes.
So then I said, but actually there are few verses that seem to me like a little bit contradictory to that kind of ras or
Yeah,
bhav.
yeah.
I
And
think because of the translation, might be not.
maybe, but so now I'm interested, to go back to those verses,
Yeah, yeah.
to see, what was it, because I cannot remember, but I will look, and maybe then I will come back with
Okay.
those verses. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we can
And
definitely
I
discuss that.
still couldn't read, I wanted to go through all the articles on Jagannatha Das blogspot.
Okay, okay,
I
okay,
think
okay.
I have only read one. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yes.
thanks already.
Some of the things he said, I discussed with him later, and he also admitted that he also wrote some things which are definitely wrong in there by mistake because he was ignorant at the time. Some of the things he wrote about Shirivansh, quite a few very important things he wrote which are very wrong, like completely wrong, which would change his conclusion as well. But he said, "Oh, what to do? I wrote this such a long time ago, and now because he actually did not read one thing he didn't read when he discussed both Shirivansh's life and Bhav, but also who's the author Radha Sudanidhi. He did not read the writings of our great grandfather Guru, Shri Kishori Sharan Aliji Maharaj. And Aliji Maharaj has written, I think, like 60 to 70 pages on this topic in Hindi, which I have very carefully studied along with others and also developed my own inspirations and other arguments. And so he actually did not read Kishori Sharan Aliji Maharaj's when he wrote that work. And I thought if he did, he would never have made some of the points he made in there. So definitely read it. And then when you read that, then I'll tell you more. And then like this, then you'll see what's best. Tika, do you? Because I know it's been a long meeting. We're actually here for a while. Do you want to hear more of Radha Sudan? Do you have time to hear about the authorship of Radha Sudanidhi, or would you like another session for that? Otherwise, maybe it's long.
Yeah, I definitely would prefer another session because
Okay.
it's quite late and I need to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
up really early in the morning.
yeah. Oh, yeah, I think it's 11 o'clock, isn't it? Okay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. TK. Well, I hope it was good and enlightening. So, thanks for coming, both of you, and Demi and G.
Mm. I want to apologize that I was late.
It's okay.
Had
That's okay.
different plans.
For me, it's okay.
No problem. It's okay. Anytime because these are all recorded. So even if these don't go public, they will be definitely shared amongst the participants and the group. So even if you come late or early, no problem. It's fine.
Thank you so much.
Okay. ठीक है जय जय श्री हरिवंश.
Yes, yeah.
Definitely don't miss next session. It's going to be Shringar Sabha Mandal, and it's going to be extremely beautiful. Less of the history and things. It's going to be just more us. So definitely don't miss that.
And when is that?
I think Sunday will work out a time. We'll work out a time.
Okay.
ठीक है. Okay. जय जय श्री
Okay.
हरिवंश.
Thank you so much again for this
Awesome.
beautiful discussion session.
No problem. श्री हरिवंश. राधे श्याम.
Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Shri Harivansh, Shri Harivansh.